Welcome to another video, folks. For today's video, I thought to talk about an interesting type of book called the offbeat book. To begin the ultimate spooky reading list for October 2020, I will define what is an offbeat book. Offbeat books, they're some of my favorite books because of the way they're paced. They're paced in a way that's unsettling, that is just a little out of rhythm, out of normality. It defies normal conventions, and the themes really express a type of moral ambiguity, a type of plot ambiguity, a type of unsettling, questionable, curious atmosphere. Oftentimes the descriptions of characters or day-to-day routines and tasks comes off as disturbing or disgusting or unsettling, whether that be banal characteristics or really just off-putting thoughts that are kind of unnatural and sometimes malevolent or mean. Throughout offbeat books, you get a sense of impending doom. Doom is what tinges the layers of the book, what tinges the characters, what tinges the atmosphere of the story. It is the underlying presence, the underlying kind of motive or plot point that's really propelling the plot forward. Another very interesting characteristic would be the fact that information is revealed as you go. Sometimes in offbeat books, you find out the names of characters halfway through the story, or you find out critical details about their personalities or their relationships towards the end or in random spots, rather than placing these details at the forefront of a text. In traditional text, for example, you find out the age, the name, the relationship status, the living situation towards the beginning of the text, as like a preliminary kind of introduction before the plot goes forward. Rather, in offbeat books, you find that out much later. Those kind of details about characters aren't as worthy of noting as the actual plot points, which really are what comprise of the story. Of course, there's a lot of themes, similar themes that you find in offbeat books, whether that be converging kind of timelines, where there's a lot of flashbacks of the past, whether that be kind of a sense of mystery, whether that be incest or homoerotic tones or a disturbing murder or gore, or a lot of weird things take place in offbeat books. And so, they are the perfect kind of read for a spooky kind of season. They are the perfect read for October, they are the perfect read for fall. So I thought today I would go over some of my favorite offbeat books that I think are sometimes severely underrated, or that I think that everybody should read, even if they are not necessarily underrated. Let's get into the video. First book I want to mention is Never Let Me Go by Kazushi. As most people say when they're describing an offbeat book, or this book in particular, you can't say much about it without giving too much away. But what you can know is that it stars a protagonist as she recounts her days that she spent at a private school growing up. She recounts her experiences with her friends, her peers, and she looks back on it from her job today. And you really watch, kind of, as these two timelines converge, as you watch her recounting tale catch up to her present-day situation. With short chapters, quick pace, and a very unsettling kind of tone, it really feels like you're running in a fog while you're reading. The pacing really helps to feel as if you're racing towards the end of the story, which you are. This book is unnatural and really just wonderful. An amazing read, especially for this time of year. Second book, The Library at Mount Char by Scott Hawkins. This book follows a cast of characters, and it takes place what you would believe to be in the suburbs, but it's our world, but not really ours. The Wikipedia introduction does it the best, so I'm going to read it all for you. An unexplained catastrophe destroys part of a town. 12 children survive. The survivors are adopted and raised by a powerful, godlike figure called Father. Together, they live in the library, which is an extensive pyramid-structured building filled with books cataloging all knowledge, past, present, and future. Father himself is extremely old, about 60,000 years or so. This book is honestly wild. It really truly paints suburbs as a foreign kind of landscape, and this book really does so many things so well. Again, it's unnatural, but done in such an amazing, beautiful way. The third book I want to mention is one of my many favorites. It's The Ocean at the End of the Lane by Neil Gaiman. I remember this short book so vividly, despite the fact I read it now years ago. It's told by a man recounting the tale of his childhood that took place over the course of a few days, where he experienced many traumatizing events and became friends with somebody who lived down the end of their lane. It takes place on the countryside, And so this kind of atmosphere of solitude really helps shape the narrative of this kind of lonely kid that gets into some strange situations. And looking back as an adult man, he questions whether any of them happened with the reader. The most disturbing thing about this book is the way Gaiman is able to slide in the magical and the unnatural with the real traumatizing and real kind of real world situations that this kid underwent. So alongside processing all of this kind of real turmoils and troubles, you're also processing whether all this unnatural stuff that occurred actually happened, because the magic is not necessarily the forefront of the story, which is what makes it so interesting. It's atmospheric, it's spooky, it's magical. It's literally Neil Gaiman at his epitome, the Neil Gaiman we know and love. The next book I want to recommend is one I read recently, and it's called 𝙁𝙗 Suicides by Jeffrey Eugenides. This is a cult classic, but so many people have read this book. However, if there's any book that has an impending nature of doom, it's this one. So you're told the story of the Lisbon girls, each of whom committed suicide over the course of a few months. And it takes place in the 70s and is told from the perspective of kids who kind of act as detectives at figuring out about the Lisbon girl suicides. This detective kind of narrative takes place many years into the future. And the thing about the story is its descriptions, whether that be the sexualization of these kind of like girls or the really weird kind of light the adults are placed in from the perspective of these kind of teenage boys. Despite its kind of intense themes, it's a very consumable read. It really keeps you on like edge and you're ready to read. And the narrative voice is very, again, consumable, is very approachable, which is what I think makes this book honestly stellar. Now, one of the final official kind of books I want to add to this list is Dark Places by Gillian Flynn. We all know and love Gillian Flynn, and if you don't, you should. She's, I guess she's most known for her book, Gone Girl, and Dark Places now also, I believe, has a TV show. No, it doesn't. Sharp Objects does. I believe Dark Places has a movie. Dark Places spans across time, and it follows the youngest child of a family massacre that occurred. She was the sole survivor other than her alleged killer brother. For some reasons, she decides to kind of go back to this case and figure out how and what exactly happened and whether or not her brother was actually innocent in the whole debacle. The most interesting thing about this book is the way it's done. It flashbacks to the day of the massacre, and it follows every single one of the characters, dead and alive, throughout that day as you figure out what exactly happened during that day. It really fills you with a rush because you are anticipating the converging of timelines. You're anticipating for Libby to figure out, as well as you figure out what actually happened that day. It's honestly such a well done book, and it's probably my favorite book by Gillian Flynn. So that's my list of offbeat books. I had to add some notable mentions though, because I just gotta. Of course, we have The Secret History by Dyna Tart. Needless to say, this is literally the pioneer of dark academia. Of course, The Raven Cycle by extension, but in particular, Blue Lily Lily Blue, the third book in this series, is frightening to say the least. There's a lot of very scary shades within this book that are just offbeat, especially the conversation around time and its circularity and this kind of unknownness to the magical system that's being set up before the last book. Okay, so those are all the books on this list, as well as some notable sublists. At the moment, I'm trying to pick up a little bit more diverse offbeat books, so if you have any, or even if they're not diverse, just some generally good books, I'd love to know. I'd love to see them. But yeah, right now my priority is trying to find a bit more diverse offbeat books. I know like the Hispanic and the South American literary scene has many, so I am kind of dabbling and trying to ease my way into them as well. At the moment, I guess I'm reading of course, the book of Shortlist, which I'm highly enjoying because it is very diverse. So thank you all for watching this video. Other than that, I hope your reading is going great, and I hope your days are going great as well. I hope you're all getting better, doing better, and being better, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!